Welcome to the Education Podcast, where it's all about helping people and organizations unleash their greatness. The Education Podcast features lively discussions.
When they share it, you see that they're beginning to feel empowered.
My heart, it's full of pride for me to be to make Te Samoa.
You don't necessarily need a degree these days. There's so many pathways to success.
Welcome to the Education Podcast. Welcome to the Education Podcast, where we're all about helping you win in your professional career and personal life. Today, we're diving into why your personality matters and how mastering it can be the key to unlocking your full potential. Now, many people struggle with aspects of their personality that can hold them back, but what if you could turn those challenges into opportunities? To guide us today, we're joined by Lee Renata, a certified MBTI practitioner and the director of Challenge the Way You Think, where she helped businesses optimize their people strategies, capability strategies. Lee has dedicated her career to helping individuals and teams understand their unique traits and transform their personality challenges into strengths. Get ready for some insights that will empower you to leverage your personality for greater success in every aspect of your life, so you don't want to miss out on this episode. Welcome to the show, Lee. How are you doing? And say hello to our listeners.
Good. And hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for coming. All right. Well, we're just going to get right into it. What is a personality and why is it so important?
Well, first of all, our personality is who we are. You think about when we have children, every one of them is different and they all have different personalities. Your 3 kids have different personalities. All 5 of mine have different personalities. It's just who we are. It's us. In a nutshell, it's us.
Yeah. And why is it important for us in terms of our personality in regards to work?
I think understanding our personality helps us identify our natural talents and our natural strengths. The things that we find easy to do often is our part of our personality and our traits, and we're just good at some things. If you get 2 people to do a task and somebody does it really well and the other one can do it but it takes them a while, it's just because naturally it's not their thing, and the other person's like, yeah, I've got it. We're different. Everybody's different, and as far as when it comes to work, we want to play to our strengths. We want to really pull them up to the front and play to our strengths. That's what makes us successful. That's what makes us happy, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that when people think of personality, sometimes they only think of introvert and extrovert.
Yes.
But we both know that it's more than that. Can you maybe shed a little bit more light and detail around how personality is just more about being introvert or extrovert?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. A lot of people just think of that introvert, extrovert, and think they've just nailed it just right then and there, and it's just not how it is. From an MBTI perspective, it's about where we get our energy from. It's about how we take in information, what information is important to us, how we process that information, how we make decisions, and how we fit ourselves in the world around us. So it's more than just extrovert and introvert, and to be honest, most people get the extrovert and introvert whole thing mixed up and get it a bit school-whiffed anyway. So no, there's lots more to it than that, because how we take in information is different, how we process it is different, how we use it is different, and not right and wrong. There's no right or wrong. It's just we're different. And what we're trying to do when we start to study our own personalities is to actually understand what we prefer to do and then how we prefer to use it. And that's where we get to understand how we add value.
I love that. So just for our listeners, I hope you understood that personality is more than just being an introvert and extrovert. And people, when they think of introvert, they're the ones who don't like public speaking and they can't do it. That's not what it means. Being introvert and extrovert is about where you draw your energy, yes. Right? It's about energy. And it's more than just about drawing energy. It's also about, like you said, Lee, as how you process information,
yep.
And how you gather information, yes. And how you use that information. Or in other words, how people make decisions and yes. how they problem solve, right? So your personality influences these behaviors. Can you tell us a little bit more around For those who might think, oh, personality doesn't really matter, like it doesn't really affect us, because it does. Can you maybe talk to that and say, like, personality is actually very important in the workplace, and this is why?
Yeah, I think from an MBTI perspective, we look at our innate personality, like what we were born with. And you'll be surprised how many people have fought what they're naturally born with all their lives and are always searching for that moment of happiness or what makes them happy. And I meet them all the time. But I often get them to go back to their childhood when they were young and innocent. Often their personality is quite strong, their preferences are quite strong. And as we get older, we learn things. We can do both. And, I'm an introvert and I've learned to do extrovert things. I've learned to look at that big picture and then make our way to it, but I naturally build to a big picture. And so you learn as you go along, and as in our later life we get to do it quite well. But fundamentally, if we understand who we are, we will be able to then direct our lives to places of happiness and well-being and it's okay to be me type statements, which I get all the time after doing an MBTI assessment with somebody. They just say, wow, it's actually okay to be me, isn't it? It's okay to be me. And I go, yep, it's actually okay to be you. You don't have to try and fit in with something else or go with the norm as they see the norm, or it's just actually okay to be you. And so it's very reassuring and confidence building. And that begins their starting point. And they say, right, now I can build. Because I knew this, but I didn't realise that I was probably trying to fit in to others' beliefs or cultures or anything that you have at work, when I actually could have added value if I'd have just been myself. And so that's a key thing that I think people should really look and embrace, is who they are. And there's a lot more to it than that, but from an MBTI perspective, that's what I get a lot of, is actually it's okay to be me.
Yeah, I love that. And for our listeners who don't know what MBTI is, it stands for Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Tool. It's basically an assessment, and you answer a bunch of questions, but the purpose of this assessment is to help you identify your natural personality. And you talked about it's just your natural preferences, right? And there isn't one personality that's better than the other.
No.
Right? We're all unique, like you said.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think in MBTI what I like about it is that there's 16 sets of personality types, but it always says that you can't fit anybody into a box, because we just don't do that. And so we can read about a personality type that we might say, you're this type, read about it, and some things just might not be you, and that's fine, because we cannot fit everybody into a box. But these 16 personality types really covers most of our types. But there's just aspects in there that, no, that's not me, and that's fine. That's as good as gone. I reassure people of that because my personality is probably the least likely to fit into a box, and so I probably reassure them more than probably other people do. But I reassure them that that's how it is.
I love that. And for our listeners, they really like examples.
Yeah.
So can you give us an example of how understanding your personality can help you become a better leader, for example, in the workplace?
Yep. I do a lot of MBTI assessments on leadership teams. And their main purpose of it is, if they've got a CEO who's driving an MBTI assessment across an executive team, they really want to know more about how each other works. They want to know how to play to each other's strengths and understand where people are coming from better, and their teams and the teams below. But for leaders, it's about that understanding, that depth of understanding. And so when they're having robust discussions, like all leadership teams have, robust discussions, they actually can see where and why people are taking certain directions, or the way that they're coming across, and what is important to them. And so I've seen teams go, oh, that's why you're saying that. So I'll give you an example of the extrovert-introvert. So an extrovert person likes to talk out their ideas. So you can imagine in a meeting, an introvert sits there and thinks, God, they talk. If they could just shut up, we could get on with things. That's what they probably think. But the extrovert is not trying to take over the meeting. The extrovert's not trying to rule and say, this is how we're going to do things. They're just talking through their ideas. Now, if you have two people in a room that understand that, all I say to them is just ask them, are you talking through your ideas? Most of the time, the extrovert goes, yeah, I'm just talking through the ideas. On the other side of that, you've got the introvert that might be quiet in the meeting and only speak when they feel that they need to. And the extrovert goes, well, why do they come? They don't say much. They sit there quiet. They don't contribute. When actually the introvert needs time to think through things and will take a measured approach to a response. They both respond. It's just in different ways. Now, you imagine a meeting where people understand that. The meetings are usually shorter, they're more powerful, they come to decisions quicker. And I always say to people, always give the information prior to the meeting to the introverts. They'll read it and be prepared to speak. Extroverts might not read it, but they will talk it through in the meeting. And so it's simple little things like that can really help a leader direct and get the best out of their people and have everybody contribute. Yeah.
I love that. So it can lead to better communication when you understand the different personalities within your team. And I love that. Yeah. Look, I'm an introvert too, and I like to be prepared, right? That helps me come in and contribute and add value because I like to internalize things. Yeah. I don't like to think out loud or verbally, right? And so, but whereas you've got extroverts who like to speak up. And you always get that expression when people are like, how come you don't speak up in meetings? Are you shy? You don't have nothing to say. It's like, maybe they do. Maybe just give them some time to internalize things or give them a platform. Maybe after the meeting, maybe give them some time to think about it and then give their feedback after the meeting, right? But anyway, as a leader, how can you not look at that and be like, I find value because it helps with efficiency and better communication, helps a team work better together, right? So let's say, for example, someone understands their personality because there are some look, my strengths are in this place and, my weaknesses are in this space here. What can a person who understands look, my personality is not strong here in this area, what can they now do with that information?
I think it's good to understand that it's not so much about the strengths and weaknesses. It's about how you do things. And so the MBTI is about I do things one way and you do things another way. It only becomes a weakness if you want to force me to do it your way, then I'm not going to be strong in that. So I always say to people, don't worry about those perceived weaknesses in a personality because we all have our faults and none of us are perfect. But if you focus on your strengths, you watch how everything else just fades away. And so if you look at the strengths and then people say, well, I don't know my strengths. They often say that and I go, well, what are you naturally good at? Pick out what you're naturally good at and then exploit it. Just find out how can you develop it? How can you make it even better? So, for example, I realised early on in my career, and I'm come from a change and transformation background, and as I've got older, I've learned that I picked the ideal career for me because of the type of work that I do. Critical thinking, the way that I work through things and the way that I work with people is ideal. So my career was, no wonder I loved it so much. I loved it doing change and transformation because it really suited my personality. But I had learnt some things along the way to make it even better. So here's my example. I can see ahead and I've developed my sense of perception so that when somebody says they're making a decision, I can quickly look at the consequences down the line and go, if you make that decision, here's the impact. It will be here or here or here. Some of the people I work with, they get a bit worried when I do that, but then they come back and go, okay, tell us what's going to happen if we make that decision. But I've fine-tuned it to add value to any change or transformation program I do so that I can say, actually, we need to start that right now if we're going to make it across the line over here. Or actually, if you do that, we're going to have to change things again. And so we have to find our little niche and we have to really let our talents develop. And we can only do that by actually understanding it, practicing it, and fine-tuning it. And it's not that complicated. Pick what you're good at. And it doesn't have to be something at work. It can be, I'm really good at baking. But a baker has key attributes. They can follow instruction. They follow a recipe. They know how to bring things together. They know how to experiment and fine-tune to perfection. If you've got all those attributes, can you imagine laying that in a work environment? You've got a valuable person right there and there.
Wow, that is so powerful. I love that. I hope our listeners are really tuning into this. So, using an assessment like MBTI to understand what your personality is. And then I love the word that you use, niching down and just leveraging the key traits or the strengths that you have, right? And using that to match up the job that you're looking for, the tasks that you want to nail, that's suitable to your personality. I love that aspect. Is there anything that you could talk to around people who might see their personality as a limitation rather than a leverage? What can you say to that?
Yeah, I actually do see where people have made a decision and feel they couldn't change it. And so that they lock themselves into a role or a career path, and they can be there for years, but actually fundamentally they wanted to do something totally different. When I first got my MBTI assessment done, it was 30 or more years ago. I remember that I came out. My appointment was after another person. That person had been a renowned scientist for all his career. And he had got to his late 40s and he had done an MBTI assessment and expressed to the guy how unhappy he was. Yet he had been very good at his job. And he said, I want to be a teacher. And so at that age, he retrained, and the appointment before me was him giving feedback to the assessor saying, I love my job. I have never been more happy in my life than I am now being a teacher. And I thought to myself, wow, that's how important it is to actually follow a passion and not feel that you have to fit into something. He didn't need the titles. He didn't need the title of anything. He wanted to be a teacher, and that's what made him happy. I've never forgotten that. And I've really held on to that, to be actually, when we follow our dreams, we have to follow what makes us happy. That's what our dreams are based on. And people often fight that. They fight themselves and they think, oh no, I'm this, oh no, I'm that. No, it's because of that. When actually strip it all down and go find your base and then build. And sometimes you're going to have to give up some things. Sometimes you're going to have to face a few realities like, oh, I've always done that, but actually I don't really like that. And break through, have some breakthroughs. And sometimes you need help with that. So I met a girl recently who got a job in an organisation. The culture of the organisation didn't fit her. And actually her personality type was so not the job really that she had. It was on the fringes of it. And so she's just going through a process of going, well, here are my dreams and aspirations. How do I start heading that way? Because I'm going to head that way. So she's definitely got to pay the bills and have an income. But now she's like, yes, but I that's just the segue for me to realise my dreams. And it just took about, an MBTI assessment, some conversations to say, actually, everything indicates that you are creative and you want like this. And it's really rewarding to actually see those light bulb moments in somebody.
I love that. I've never heard that before. Understanding your personality and leveraging it can help you achieve your dreams. Wow, that's powerful. That's a powerful statement. And, people out there who might be thinking, well, this is my personality. I don't like my personality. I want to change my personality.
Yes.
It's like, I don't want to be this. I want to be an extrovert, not an introvert. Like, what can you say to people out there who are thinking with that mindset?
Okay, I think I'll answer it in two ways. The first one was when we were getting qualified as MBTI practitioners, a lady in the classroom put up her hand and asked the psychologist, what if I have two personalities? Like, what if I want to switch, or, so I have two different types of personalities? And I laughed because the psychologist handled it so well. He just said, well, if that was the case, you probably need to make an appointment with somebody like me. And she got the point. She got the point, and she just smiled and she said, thank you for answering my question. But as far as the second part to that about, I don't like my personality, you can always point fingers at different parts of yourself. And so you have to peel that away. There's always reasons why people say, I don't like the fact that I do this, I don't like the fact that I do that. There's other reasons behind that. That's got nothing to do with an MBTI assessment. It's probably around life experiences, events, situations, environments. So, my grandmother was naturally left-handed, but used to get strapped over the hand if she used her left hand at school. That was what it was in those days. So she was forced to write with her right hand. And so all her life, she continued to write with her right hand, but everything else was her left hand. And so sometimes events, circumstances, environments push us to do something that's not naturally ours, and we make it natural. But fundamentally underneath that, it's not the thing that pushes our buttons. And so we have to sometimes peel away those things. The MBTI assessment does not cover skills. It doesn't cover environmental influences or anything like culture or anything like that. It's just about our base personality that we're born with. And so we do have to accept that sometimes life throws us some curveballs, and we might have to peel some of those away to find out actually what is our driver. But the other thing I think is that as we get older, we use both sides' preferences. Like, we know that we have to be extrovert, or we have to go and talk in big groups and crowds, when naturally us introverts would like a smaller group and maybe one-on-one. But we know that we can do it if we have to. So it's not like we can't do the opposite. It's just like my grandmother. She was left-handed, but she learned to write with her right hand. We can do both. It's just about what effort we're going to put into it. Yeah.
Oh,
so I wouldn't be afraid of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is powerful. That makes me laugh when I hear that example around, maybe I have two personalities. But what Lee is saying here is you have a natural personality that's unique to you, and it's about understanding what that is and accepting it. And the sooner you accept it, the better you can leverage it, right? And I love how you talked about like you're using I can't get it out of my mind. I think that's my new saying now, but you leveraging your personality to help you achieving your dreams. So maybe can we put it in the context of a career? How do you leverage your personality to help you progress in your career?
I think each time you think about personality around how we take in information, what we do with that information, what information is important to us, and then how we make decisions from that information. So for me, part of my personality type is I will build things in quite a sequential way to that big picture. So for my career as change and transformation, I'm looking at the end result and I immediately work backwards. So that's different from other people. And I can actually do a step by step. So I can say to people, actually, you need to do this now. That's my talent. That's what I got from my personality, and I've developed it so I can really know exact dates when people need to be doing things if we're going to be successful in a change and transformation coming across the line in its due date. That's not everybody's cup of tea at all. If you think of the other side of that, who likes to see the big picture or just jump to that big picture thinking, and they work out how to get there afterwards, where I can get there, immediately see the picture and build to that. And so that's me using my strengths. My daughter Lorraine, who is a chemical materials engineer and who specialises in water, she is a very big thinker person. And so her work has identified and recognised that she's a big thinker. So they have enveloped her with opportunities to just go and do the big thinking. And so now she's in demand. She talks at conferences. She's a young graduate engineer, and she's talking at conferences with hundreds of people, gets invited to different things because she's able to get up there and paint a big picture of what we could achieve if we all worked together to get there. And so that's her. That's what her strength is, and she's really playing to it. And that will be her career path. That will definitely set her on her path, which it already has. So now she's getting international invites. And so we just need to not worry about, I've got to do this to do this to do this. Just trust in yourself. Really use those strengths, whatever your job has, and allow yourself to be moved through your career using those strengths into roles that actually suit that type of way of thinking, type of processing, type of decision making, type of communication. Just go and not be afraid of it. I think we all put up barriers, and remembering doubt and fear is our biggest enemy. And so we let doubt come into our lives. All of us do at certain degrees. Some it overwhelms them, but we prevent ourselves from being our true selves. And that doubt festers and stops us from moving. And so past the personality test, past the psychometric testing of MBTI, you have to do some work. You have to put some effort in, and you have to recognise what barriers are holding you back from being who you are.
Yeah. I love that. That's very powerful. Beyond the MBTI assessments and psychometric testing, in that it's about what do you do with that information once you understand a little bit more about your personality and who you are naturally. And then what do you do with that in terms of your career, your opportunities, and what you accept. But I love that. I think one of the things you highlighted with your daughter's experience is the organization and the value they saw. How powerful it is once you understand someone's personality, and then giving them jobs, opportunities, or tasks that will help the business grow.
Yes.
Now that's playing to your strengths.
Yes. And that's why I think the MBTI assessment is really valuable for people who are career pathwaying, because they can career pathway themselves in an organisation, or the organisation can see, here's a career pathway that might suit this person. And so they can keep and retain them, because they're career pathwaying for their natural abilities, and saying, hey, have you thought of heading this way in our organisation? It suits them. It's a good way of stepping through. It's a good way of retaining people, and guaranteed that person will be happy if they naturally are good at those types of things and just need that career pathway to be established for them. It's a good, if it's used in the right way, with the right intent, it's a very powerful tool for managing careers within an organisation and talent management.
Mm. I love that. You've shed so much light around the power of personality and what it can do for you personally, but also what it can do for the business that you work for. And, if you're interested in getting an MBTI assessment for yourself to help you with your career development, I know that Lee and her team at Challenge the Way You Think provide these services. So if you're interested, talk to your leader, talk to your employer, and we can get you guys connected. But as we draw closer to the podcast, again, I just want to thank you so much for just helping us understand the power of personality. If there's one key thing that you want our listeners to take away from our conversation today, what would that be?
If I'm going to talk with my MBTI hat on, go, if you have the opportunity and you want to do your career pathway yourself outside your organisation, go and get it done, and then capitalise on it. Use it. First of all, it'll reassure you who you are is fine. You can be you. The second thing it can do is that can allow you to go, is that why I'm so good at that? And then take that and utilise it and grow it. And so those are that would be my advice. If you're going to go down an MBTI assessment path, yes, curiosity might get you there at the beginning, but then utilise it like you've said, and actually career pathway yourself. Take control yourself of where you head in your life.
I love that. And if people want to get in hold of you, in touch with your services, or get MBTI assessment done?
Yep, they can go to the website and Challenge the Way You Think and just connect. My phone number's there, LinkedIn, my phone number's there, my email address is there. Just email or phone me. It's fine.
Awesome. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for your time, Lee Renata, MBTI practitioner and also director of Challenge the Way You Think. Thank you.